Our county council meeting tonight, May 23rd. First item, Mr. Moody, would you lead us in a prayer? And Mr. Kobrovsky in the pledge.
Before we start, if we could have a moment of silence for the City of Charleston Police Chief Luther Reynolds, who passed away recently. Thank you very much. Lord, we come to you tonight full hearts for the wonderful county we live in, the great public servants we have, and our incredible staff who do so much with the resources they're provided. We ask that you give us clear thinking, that we do what's best for your county, and direct our staff to administer those programs. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, Freedom of Information Act.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
Thank you. Minutes of May 9, 2023.
Move to approve.
By Reverend Middleton, seconded by Mr. Pryor. Any corrections, additions?
Commendations once again to the clerk and her staff.
Thank you.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Recognitions and resolutions.
Move for approval,
Second.
3 and B.
3A
B.
and B. Okay.
Second.
3A, 2023 ASFPM Media Award to Floodplain Management.
Yes, sir.
Recognize Akeem, are you here? Yeah, there you go. And staff from Charleston County Floodplains Management Division. Come on up.
Mr. Chairman, tonight we're pleased to recognize Charleston County Floodplain Management Division, who was awarded the Association of State Floodplain Managers Media Award for exemplary efforts on the part of media to increase information or awareness of flood issues with the public. The Charleston County Floodplain Management Division produced an 11-episode TV series in collaboration with a number of local contributors. The series was called Hazard, Prepare, Prevent, Prevail, and it focused on using local comedians as a unique delivery mechanism to drive home important educational and safety messages on various topics. And we have one example of one of the videos that was
pronounced Hazard is a show about how to prepare, prevent, and prevail over disasters. And it's hosted by me, a comedian.
As a comedian, I know that without proper planning, things can go wrong. When it comes to hazards in our community, being ready is even more important.
From sea level rise and flooding to insurance and earthquakes, I'll help cut through the jargon and make preparing for a disaster so easy, even a comedian can do it. Join us on Hazard. Sea level rise is the phenomenon that is of great debate amongst those who study it, and predictions of future impacts are still in the early stages. However, there is strong evidence that the sea will continue to rise at least a little to as much as a lot over the next several decades. It's the difference between, honey, there's some water in the backyard, and, honey, I think we have waterfront property now. No, and the dog is floating away. Sparky, heel! I never liked that dog. This is not just a recent phenomenon. It's been happening for a while. We're only recently noticing and reporting. And let's be real, it's not the end of the world. We just need to adapt and find ways to work and live with water instead of trying to battle it. Because of all the newly available information, it's easy to think that scientists, government agencies, and experts are just guessing, which isn't exactly true. I mean, it's not like, I predict the water will rise in Paducah. All right, that's lunch, everyone. My hypothesis, I'm getting a chicken salad sandwich. Time to test my theory. Or this. I predict the sea level will rise. Also, your dog will float away. The one thing to understand is that preparation takes time. And if the trend continues, we should be ready.
The sea level is rising. There's a saying goes like, the plan is nothing, planning is everything. And I think that's really important for the problems we're dealing with either be sea level rise or storm surge.
So there are generally 5 steps to resiliency. The first one is to identify the hazard. What areas are going to be impacted? And then the next step is do like a vulnerability assessment. So you take that information, you overlay it on where people live, what's the land use, and then investigating options. And then prioritize and plan, which is sort of planning into the future, prioritizing actions. And the final step is take action. Sometimes the hardest part, because that's where you're actually spending real dollars on something that you may not get that return on from until, like, say, 60 years from now.
We're planning it right now because it is taking time for us to do all the work. And it takes like 30 or 50 years to do all the planning, do all the construction, do all the evaluations, and it goes in iterative terms.
Thank you so much for recognizing my team, and thank you so much, Mr. Chair of the council. Thank you so much for recognizing my team, my department, and thank you so much. This is the team, the one who worked so hard to achieve this. Thank you so much. Because of you, because of the hard work, we achieved that, and that benefits not only us as a county, every single citizen, and actually we are now as a reference for other municipalities statewide. It's not nationwide. And Mr. Small, thank you so much for your support. I just want to add with that, if I may add one thing, just about 30 minutes ago, we received an official letter from FEMA that we are now officially Charleston County Class 2, meaning every single resident who had or has or own a policy can save $40 out of $100. So that's great. We are number 1 nationwide with the size of this community. And one more thing I just want to add, this program is all funded by FEMA money. It's by grant. So again, thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. That's really great news. All right, a little housekeeping. We failed to vote on the recognitions. They were moved by Mr. Pryor and Mr. Middleton. We need to vote for the 3A and 3B. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item 3B, EMS Week. Dave Abrams and staff, would you come forward?
A resolution of Charleston County Council designating the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved that in recognition of this event, Charleston County Council does hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Charleston County. This marks the 49th annual National EMS Week and Charleston County EMS Department's 50th anniversary. With the EMS Strong theme, EMS, where emergency care begins, Charleston County Council encourages the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Charleston County Council, Herbert R. Sass III, Chairman.
First of all, on behalf of Charleston County Council and as the Public Safety Chair, I want to tell you how incredibly valued you are by County Council. We know that you do incredible work every day that is extremely challenging. None of us, I can say, would ever be able to do with extreme compassion and professionalism, and we really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Mr. Abrams.
I can't add any more eloquence than what Ms. Honeycutt just offered, but the only thing I can say is personally is working with you guys as a member of the team. There is no other EMS agency in the country that that is better than you guys. You are continuously pushing for better protocols, better equipment, better culture to deliver that 911 service to the community. And I would not be anywhere else if I could choose. So appreciate y'all's continued work. This past year, we've added infusion pumps. We're looking at ventilators next year, added some more medications. And what else did we add, Natalie? Ultrasounds, absolutely. So, I mean, we're at the forefront of the EMS industry around the country. And our training department has pushed DHEC to even expand some of our scopes so that we can even be the leaders, at least in South Carolina as well, to enhance our 911 care. And you guys do a phenomenal job. I'm honored every day to be working with you.
Thank you. We will disband County Council and call to order Special Finance Committee. Recommendations from the Special Housing Committee.
Move for approval, item 1A.
Second.
Moved by
Warman.
Honeycutt, seconded by Reverend Middleton.
Bill, defer to Mr. Warman.
Oh, Reverend, okay.
Whomever. My second remains, so I can second it for sure.
It's a request to adopt, so we vote on that?
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Have it, thank you. Item B, Program Development.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Honeycutt, seconded by
Mr. Pryor.
By Ms. Pryor, okay.
Yes, sir.
By Ms. Pryor. Any questions? Do we have any direction here, or are we just going to move forward with those two?
The directives from Friday, if the
directives from
clerk
Friday.
wants to read, that's fine.
The Special Housing Committee voted to recommend that council authorize staff to develop a program or programs to implement the two priorities established at the Housing Our Future workshop, and the established priorities are establish an affordable housing trust fund to support priority activities and utilize and bank land to support affordable and mixed income housing development.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We have next is public hearings, curbside collection franchise. Is there anyone here to speak on this public hearing? None. Thank you. You need to read it. don't
Yes,
you?
sir. Notice is hereby given that Charleston County Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 23rd at 6:30 p.m. regarding an ordinance amending ordinance number 2216, authorizing an exclusive franchise for the collection of solid waste from households in unincorporated Charleston County and the town of Ravenel and other matters related thereto. The franchise is proposed to be awarded to Trident Waste and Recycling.
Thank you. Item 1B, financial incentives for CK Crosspoint X LLC.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the County of Charleston, South Carolina, in the council chambers prior to final action being taken to consider an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between CK Crosspoint X LLC, the company, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the company, providing for payment by the company of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters related thereto.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak on this one? Seeing none, are there anybody for public comments?
We have one person for public comment, Josh Dix.
Josh Dix. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Charleston Trident Association of Realtors. And I just wanted to come and say thank you for all the work that you did with the Housing Our Future plan and getting it adopted. But not only just adopting a plan and sticking it on a shelf, you started to move forward with implementation strategies, some of which were done with using ARPA dollars. And that gap financing model is one that works. It helps the market stabilize and provide affordable housing. Over 300 units are going to be created out of just the 10 million and change that you use with ARPA dollars. That's more than the 25 million the city of Charleston has created on their own. So public-private partnerships can work. I hope this is an example that the rest of the region can look at and model their programs after. And please tell your fellow council members on other municipalities that this model can work. And with your help, we're going to provide a lot of housing to a lot of people. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dix. We'll reconvene County Council, third reading ordinances, financial incentives for CK Crosspoint X LLC.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between CK Crosspoint X LLC, the company, and Charleston County, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of tax agreement with the company, providing for payment by the company of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes and other matters related thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
No.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Warman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
The ordinance passes third reading with 7 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Next item, environmental management curbside collection service for unincorporated areas of Charleston County and the town of Ravenel, third reading.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2216 authorizing an exclusive franchise for the collection of solid waste from households in unincorporated areas of the county and other matters related thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Darby's absent. Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton?
Aye.
Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Warman?
Aye.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes third reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Thank you. Second reading ordinance, James Island Public Service District Fire Station bonds.
An ordinance authorizing the James Island Public Service District, South Carolina, to issue not exceeding $6,500,000 aggregate principal amount of general obligation bonds, providing for the publication of notice of the said finding and authorization, and providing for other matters related thereto. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski?
Aye.
Mr. Middleton? Mr. Moody?
Aye.
Mr. Pryor?
Aye.
Mr. Warman? Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Ordinance passes second reading with 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Committee recommendations with first reading ordinances, Mr.
Chairman, move for approval on 6A, B, and C, and she can read the first reading separately.
Second.
Yes, moved by Mr. Pryor, seconded by Mr. Boykin, 6A, B, and C. First one, Ms. Salisbury?
Do you want to vote on them first?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
An ordinance to further amend the agreement for development of a joint county industrial park by and between Charleston County, South Carolina, and Colleton County, South Carolina, providing for the development of a jointly owned and operated industrial business park so as to update the status of certain property in Charleston County with respect to the joint county industrial park. And an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax agreement by and between Charleston County and an entity identified to the county by the county as Project Platypus, including related or affiliated entities and any sponsor affiliates, whereby Charleston County will enter into a fee in lieu of taxes arrangement with the company, providing for payment by the company of certain fees in lieu of ad valorem taxes, providing for the allocation of fee in lieu of taxes paid by the company under the agreement for establishment of multi-county industrial business park and other matters related thereto. And finally, an ordinance amending Chapter 7.5, Article 4 of Charleston County Code of Ordinances, the Charleston County Greenbelt Bank Ordinance, number 1424, as amended.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Approve of item 7A through E.
Moved by Mr. Pryor, seconded by Mr. Moody.
Middleton.
Mr. Middleton. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 6. Excuse me, item number 8, Finance Committee recommendations.
Move to approve items 8A through G.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Middleton, seconded by Mr. Pryor. All in favor say, Mr. Moody?
Yes, sir. A couple of questions, if I might. I'm in favor of all of these, but I did have a couple of questions for Mr. Kramer, about the Board of Elections building. First of all, I think this is a very good idea. It gets our Board of Elections out of that jail that they're in over there and gets it in the public. But the question, this is a lease arrangement, correct?
Yes, sir.
3 years?
Lease arrangement.
Do we have options to purchase this building at some point?
We do have the option to purchase at the end of the initial 3-year term.
At the end of 3 years, okay. Will the purchase price be set now or then, or?
We can set it at any point in time, giving them a 240-day notice. So we can go ahead and give them the 240-day notice as soon as we commence the lease agreement if we choose to.
Cost to construct new over at Azalea probably was more, I'm assuming, than going into this building, rehabbing it, and maybe potentially buying it in a couple years?
That is correct.
Okay. We're going to make some improvements to the building, I'm assuming, to
We
get
are
it.
going to make some improvements to the building that are needed for elections operations.
Will that drive up any future purchase price? That is, if we're going to make improvements to a building that we don't own, leasehold improvements, is that going to then drive up our purchase? We're going to be penalizing ourselves by improving a building we don't own yet.
Right, so we spoke to the building owner about that, and they are amenable to us adding a clause in the agreement allowing us to eliminate our capital improvements to the building for our operations and the appraisal. So when we go to seek the appraised value for the purchase,
That'll be
we're going
excluded.
to give those improvements to the appraiser, and he's not going to include those.
Thank
in
you very
value.
much. I would challenge Mr. Kramer, I've challenged other folks about finding grant monies. There's got to be tons of dough out there to expand voter access and these type of things. I've challenged other groups. Some find them, some don't, but I would love to see you make it rain on this. No pressure.
We won a national award today, so there should be more recognition, federal government, state governments.
Thank you both. That's it. Thank you very much.
Are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Kobrovsky would like us to approve 8A through E and vote on 8F and G separately. So if that is okay with everyone?
Reverend Milton, you made the motion, that second. Are you good with
Properly
that?
moved and seconded. I would just call for the vote.
We already voted.
Discuss, or is that this? Well, we'll vote and you can vote against it. Call for the vote too. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Last item today, we met this afternoon with Mr. Q, who is our new environmental management person who's working with us, and he's handling both the landfill and the recycling center at this time. And I just want to introduce him to council and to the audience. He is a welcome addition, and he's doing a great job getting us straight up there. And Ms. Ham, we sure appreciate you helping get him here and get him going, getting what he needs to be done. So thank you very much. Council comments, Mr. Werman?
Very little from me, Mr. Chairman. Certainly condolences to Chief Reynolds' family and all the folks who are being affected by that. I think he certainly left a great mark here on our community, and so I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that, but nothing beyond that.
Thank you, Mr. Pryor.
I concur with Mr. Werman on the chief of police in the city of Charleston. Great individual, integrity, working with others, always soft-spoken but rude with a big stick. And so to the city of Charleston and to his family, I offer my condolences. But I do want to, commend this county and this council for the Housing Our Future plan that we just passed. I mean, this started with Vic Rawl and it went down to Ms. Anna Johnson, Ms. Honeycutt. But, this has been a long time in coming. We all work together to make this happen. And I think Mr. Dix just said 300 new units. Mm-hmm. And with $10 million, with this gap funding, which is real special when we could do these kind of things. And we got a lot more to do, especially with the A-tax money that we can also use now. And so I just want to say, staff, thank you all very much, Mr. Durant and your staff, for working with this, our attorney and her staff, and all of council. But congratulations to this council and past council, because we hit a milestone, whether we know it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boykin?
I would just add on to the passing of Chief Reynolds, our thoughts, prayers, and condolences for he and his family.
Ms. Honeycutt?
Yes, sir, and the same to all those in the City of Charleston Police Force right now who are grieving his loss. He was an incredible leader, and he will leave an impression in the city. So to his family, we send our deepest thoughts and prayers. Along the same lines as Mr. Pryor, though, I do want to recognize our incredible staff and council effort towards the Housing Our Future, and I would be remiss if I didn't also recognize our steering committee that we put together. So, Mr. Dix, under your leadership, I know we didn't always see eye to eye, but this was an incredible step forward. For those who don't know, on Friday, the governor signed into law a Senate Bill 284 that will allow us to use accommodations tax revenues for workforce housing. That will allow Charleston County to create and fund, actually we already have an affordable housing trust fund, but we'll be able to fund that to really make a difference in our community. And when we're able to leverage those dollars in revolving microloans and funds that way, similar to what ARPA has allowed us to do with the gap financing, we're really going to be able to make a difference. And so I look forward to those public-private partnerships and the ability to help transform our housing in Charleston County. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Middleton?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And certainly, having worked with Chief Luther Reynolds personally, I was the project leader of the Illumination Project for years and shepherded him in the transition when Chief Mullen left, and worked with that project on the front lines, building relationships of trust and legitimacy between the Charleston Police Department and the citizens of the city of Charleston. He even attended my church regularly, and his wife Caroline, Grace, his daughter, and Luke, his son. And so we continue to pray for them in this transition. We were extremely close, and continue to just lift up the Charleston Police Department, because, that's a big loss. He certainly, led with faith and never was ashamed to profess his faith. And I know that God is with them in this hour. And so I would also I would be remiss if I did not lift up the achievement of the Housing Our Future plan. I heard in the video clip earlier talking about plans, and certainly having a plan is just not enough. You have to put that plan in action. And so I would like to thank our vice chairwoman and chairwoman of the housing committee for swiftly, once we learned of the bill that was to advance and be signed, did not drag her feet, did not wring her hands, swiftly brought us together in order to at least approve the plan and convened us so that we might set priorities, and we were able to come up with two of them that we all agreed upon. I think that when we talk about housing, whether we say affordable housing, workforce housing, attainable housing, whatever definition we wish to use, we recognize that everybody is affected by that, particularly in an area where housing prices continue to soar. And so it was never a political issue. It was always an issue that we had to just come to a place where we could figure out how the nuts and bolts of it would be put in place. And thank you to our staff in advance, because they're going to put their fingers and intellectual abilities to work and come up with the program development to help this county move this into action and not just something that will sit. And I am so happy in this moment to have been a part of that. Of course, I came on, over 3 years ago, and we were saying this, and now to see it become a reality, in my, humble opinion, it's 3 years coming in the making, and certainly before, my term ends, I'm happy to see that at least this portion has come to fruition. So thank you again to the council for our unanimity on this, and taking partisanship out of it and recognizing that it's a win for Charleston County.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
I think more has been said. Chief Reynolds was a wonderful man. Only 56 years old. I did not know that. That's a shame. The good ones sometimes have to leave us too early, but certainly prayers to his family. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Kowalski?
I didn't know personally Chief Reynolds, but he gave the image and impression of what a public servant should be, with humility, grace, and dignity, and a loss for his family and for all of us. And I briefly want to address the reason I voted I did on the housing. I want to thank all the staff and all the hard work that went into it. Certainly the heroic efforts, but in my opinion, affordable housing has to do, as I've always said, is the cost of buying a house or paying rent. And what we've done, in effect, is created a floor, not a ceiling. It's a subsidy plan, and that it will help some, but it's kind of, to me, the analogy of the high cost of public education. They guaranteed loans, and by guaranteeing the loans, they locked in the cost of higher education, which kept them going up and up and up. And I've asked a question at the last meeting, what in this plan will affect the market prices of what people pay for their homes and make it keep on going up and up, and make the cost of the rent going up and up? And I didn't get an adequate answer. We'll subsidize some at the expense of others, and for those who are not receiving the subsidies, the landlords or the contractors who aren't receiving the money, the rest of us, in taxes, it's going to cost and make homes less affordable. Affordability is what you pay to buy a house, what you pay for your rent, paying your mortgage, paying your taxes. And my concern has been in Charleston County, so many of us who have lived here a long time saw the home values go up and up and up. It doesn't mean you have any more money to pay for it. I think, and again, I thank everybody for their hard work, but we've created a floor, not a ceiling. Nothing in this is going to keep the cost of housing going up, and nothing in this is going to help the rents go down. And that is, again, what affordable housing is. So I think we will help some people a lot, which is a good thing. But again, we're subsidizing some at the expense of others. And for those who aren't directly impacted and helped, it will make homes, in a sense, less affordable if you measure that by the price of homes and the price of rent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Administrator?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Ms. Ham? Thank you all. I'd like to thank everybody who worked so hard on affordable housing. Mr. Dix, your committee, you and your committee, and everyone worked really hard. It's been 3 long years. it's really been longer than that. It's been since we started with Chairman Rawl, and but it's been a long, long road. So now we got a plan, and we're going to make it work. So I think council's committed to do that, and I'm very proud of that. I want to say my prayers for Chief Reynolds. What a fine man. We sure will miss him. They don't make them like that, and great man. And I want to thank Ms. Durant and everybody on your staff for the great job y'all have done. Thank y'all. This meeting's over.